fire up here soon.
Okay, and then just press got it. Okay, I think.
Should I say got it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for it to pull up on Facebook.
We don't get any participant list?
No,
Okay.
it'll show on mine once we are live. Okay, we are live now. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to IGS Facebook Live again. We're thrilled to have all of you. Kay and I tonight are joined by Ron, is it Darrah? Darrah. And we're going to talk about the Society of Civil War Families. But before the presentation, we want to remind everyone that there's still time to register for our IGS annual meeting and conference. It's going to be held Saturday, April 1st, 2023. And it is going to be, you can choose in person, which if you do in person, it's at Allen County Public Library at Fort Wayne, Indiana. There's also a virtual aspect of it as well if you cannot attend. Featured speaker this year is Amy Johnson-Crow, which a lot of us know. We have a number of great presentation topics, which you can learn about on the website. Current IGS members will receive a 35% discount if you register, and the price for non-members is $65. I will post a link in just a minute, so if you want to check out more about the conference, you can go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions during the presentation, please post it below and I will present them to Ron at the end of his presentation. And we'll try to get to all the questions. If you're watching it and it was recorded, you can still post a question and we'll get to it and get the answers from Ron. So go ahead, sit back, relax, and we will start the presentation. So Ron, why don't you start out by telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a native of West Virginia, but I've been here in Indiana since the early 70s. I'm a retired school administrator. I'm also a retired Air Force veteran. I have no Southern ancestry, but I have found that so far about 30 different members of my family who served in the Union Army. So I'm considering that to be a good qualification and stuff like that. So I've been a member of the Sons of the American Revolution for quite some time. I served as a registrar for them. So I've done quite a bit of military type applications and lineages and things like that. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm a member of the Ohio Civil War group. But anytime, I guess I should go ahead and sign in. Is that okay, John Marie?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Share my screen. I'm not getting my screen.
Okay, hold on. Kay might have to do something on her end.
Can you get it up, Kay?
Did you get the question to go to host?
No,
To be made a host?
no.
Is your share screen at the bottom green?
Yeah. But it just come up, it didn't fill up the screen.
Did it show you
Oh,
different?
there it is. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay. Let me slideshow from the beginning. Okay, is everybody looking okay?
Perfect.
All right. In the next little while, we're going to be discussing something we're kind of proud about in the Indiana Genealogical Society. It's the Society of Civil War Families of Indiana. First, I'd like to do a little history lesson. For those of you who are not too familiar with IGS, we're kind of late on as far as the genealogies group is concerned in the world. We didn't start until 1989, which is, as far as a lot of state societies, is like yesterday. Okay. In the beginning, we were, by the way, I was a charter member of the Indiana Genealogical Society in 1989. I was sharing things with Kurt Witcher and a few other like that. In the beginning, as we were getting going, we were all new at this state society business, and it took us a while to get rolling here. We were concentrated in the beginning, of course, in getting members and things like that, and developing databases, resources for Indiana researchers and stuff like that. We were also focusing on producing a quarterly, with a lot of good information in there, and also newsletters that we could tell people about everything going on in and around the state of Indiana. So, in the first few years, we were kind of busy, but eventually, as we got those things kind of under control, about a dozen years ago, maybe, the board of directors started getting some feedback that, we need something else, another dimension in our society. So somebody suggested, why don't we have a lineage society? And we tossed that around. You can't go very far into the genealogy business without going into lineages, without being, recruited or talked about or anything like that, or people brag about they're in the Daughters of the American Revolution, or they're in the Mayflower Society or something like that. So it wasn't anything new to us. What we wanted to do, though, was to focus on specific people from Indiana. We wanted to have a lineage society that was just Indiana. We did not have a state lineage society like that. Some of the counties had those kinds of things, but the state of Indiana did not have one. Even like the Historical Society doesn't have a lineage group attached to them. So that was what our impetus was for all of that stuff. So first we had to figure out, okay, what exactly wasn't a lineage organization, and what did we have to do to put all that together? So we did some research, like a good genealogist do, and we basically came out with an explanation of how lineage societies work. And what you see here is basically what it is. There's a selected group of people who share some kind of a experience or some kind of an ancestral group, place, a location, something like that. Like for instance, the Daughters of the American Revolution, they share a revolutionary patriot on them. And the people that started it, they were focused on that because they were themselves descendants of revolutionary people. Okay, so they decided to start a group to get more people, to recruit more people into that particular little selected group. Okay, so what they did, they come up with some rules, naturally, so that people had to prove that they couldn't take their word for it. Okay, that's a shaky thing to do in genealogy, that. So they come up with some qualifications, and then they created a process, and then people were recruited to fill this out, to join and submit stuff, and then the organization had to approve all this. So if the documents were shaky, hey, they were not going to approve them. Okay. Then we found out that the organization had very limited functions. They had meetings once in a while. They published a few things. The new member list and the patriot list and whatever, that kind of thing. And so they maintained some lists, documents and things like that. And they published a few things about their organization. But that's basically what all lineage organizations do, pretty much that. Some are more or less selective. Some are more or less determined to keep people out. Others determined to get people in. So we wanted to be one of those people that got people in. Okay. So we drew up some specifications, what you see right here. These are copied out of other existing lineage societies. I'm in the Ohio Civil War Society, so some of this I copied directly from the Ohio Genealogical Society, like a good borrower in genealogy. So it's basically, we specified, you notice the first paragraph, we specified that we're only going to want or recruit people who are direct descendants. We can't have brothers and sisters or aunts and uncles. We want direct descendants of any person who served in a Union unit during the Civil War, both Army and Navy, military and Navy. Or they had to be a resident of Indiana when they joined a non-Indiana unit. Now, think about if you lived like in Terre Haute, for instance, or down along the river in Jeffersonville or something like that. It might be just as convenient, or maybe more so, to join like Kentucky or Illinois if there wasn't any Indiana unit going in. But as long as you were proven to be an Indiana citizen, you're okay with that. Okay. Then we come up with an application form, and we told everybody what they had to do, what kind of documents are good, what are not, that kind of thing. We charge them $20 because we go through a lot of stuff and we have some expenses on that. And the deadline, of course, is the last of every year. And then after that, then everybody who's approved goes to the annual conference after we notify them. Okay, now, one of the things that you need to, can I get rid of this thing up at the top? How do I get rid of that? Anybody know? No?
You should be able to grab it, kind of click and drag it.
Oh, but how do I get it sideways?
If you drag it over towards the left or right.
Yeah,
It
it won't go down. I don't know. Oh, well, we'll work with it.
You can't see it on Facebook.
There
So
it is. There it is. Okay. It disappeared. Okay, now, many people don't know this next part. So if you're thinking about applying to the Civil War Families of Indiana, you might be interested in looking at more than one of these things. Okay, during the Civil War, there was a regular federal U.S. Army and a U.S. Navy. Both of these started in the 1770s during the Revolutionary War, and they've continued in constant existence, and right till today. There's still regular Army and regular Navy. Okay, these are indicated on the documents as the initials U.S., United States, like the 1st United States Infantry, or the 16th United States Navy Infantry. So those are regular troops. Okay, so most of them are out of Washington, D.C. Okay, now during the Civil War, the regular Army and Navy was no way good enough or big enough to take care of the Civil War. Okay, so they requested that each of the Union states create volunteer military units specific to that state. And you can identify them by the name of the state, like the 15th Iowa Cavalry, the 75th Indiana Volunteer Infantry, that kind of thing. So those are the state units. Then you could volunteer, if you were a Hoosier, you could volunteer, like I mentioned a minute ago, for other state units. I had a relative who lived down in New Albany, and he wanted to join the Union, but he wanted to be a cavalryman. He didn't want to walk to the war. So when he was interested in doing that, he shopped around. There wasn't any Indiana units down along the river at the time who were cavalry. They were recruiting a lot of infantry people, but no cavalry. So what he did, he just went right across the river to Louisville and joined the Kentucky. So he spent the war in the 9th Kentucky Cavalry, and instead of Indiana. But he could prove, and his descendants could prove, that he was indeed a Hoosier. Okay. Now the last part here is something a lot of people don't know about, and it is something that was a big part of the Civil War in every state. We're just talking about the Indiana Legion, but the same things that we're going to talk about the Legion were in other states too. Okay, so let's take a look. Well, before we do that, let's go down here at the bottom and remind everybody that the Indiana is a Union state, and Confederates are not acceptable. We do not accept any Confederate service in the Civil War families of Indiana. So put that out of your way, okay? What happened here? There. Okay. Now, the step one, if you're going on any of, you found people in any of those categories, and you're thinking that you ought to be able to prove them, okay, you have to go on our website. And your next step is to go on the IGS website, which is, this is the homepage, what you're looking at right now. And up along the top, along the bar up at in the middle there's a little, on the left, it says About Us, okay? If you click on that, one of the categories is Civil War Society, okay? You click on that, of course, and then it takes you to this particular page here. Now, we know that this page is way too wordy, and we are revising our website, and what you're going to see in the near future is about a page about half as many words and stuff like that. I think this was designed by a college professor or something. But anyway, what it does, it tells you how you do what you want to do. Okay. The top part is just some explanation of what we just said a little bit. There are some notes down there, and they've got hot buttons, you'll notice. If you want to fill out an application, you click on the application, and you can print it out and stuff like that. Down below here, where you see SCWFI materials, they are there's a list of ancestors or people who are already in. You might check that before you put in yours, because maybe somebody has already proven your ancestor, which would make it way easier than you just doing it from scratch. Okay, so we got a PDF form that prints out, and then we have rules that go along with that. We're going to take a look at that in a minute, and then this last one, how to document your Civil War ancestor. This is a nice little paper that was written by Amy Johnson Crow, which we're going to meet here in about a month. So it just gives you a little background, a little familiarization that you can use to help you move along if you run into some scary parts or something like that. The part at the bottom there are Civil War resources. We will probably be eliminating that because it's kind of self-explanatory in a lot of ways, but it's just a few little things that we have on our website that people have submitted and we've developed about Civil War. Okay. I wanted to remind you down at the bottom there, there were a lot of Navy people, a lot of sailors in the Civil War. You have to remember that the Blue Water Navy blockaded all those ports in the South, and they chased gun runners and all kinds of Confederate ships and things like that. Plus, this one right here that you see is a riverboat. Most of the rivers in the South were very quickly under the control of the Union Navy. They had hundreds and hundreds of riverboats. This is a gunboat, and they had ships of that carried troops and all kind of stuff. And all those went up and down the Mississippi and the Ohio, the Tennessee, and all those rivers in the South, and they caused a lot of trouble. So don't overlook the Navy if you can't find anybody is in the Army. Okay. So one of the things when you print out the cover sheet, you print out the application, the first thing you'll run into is this cover sheet here. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just put your name, you put the name of your veteran and their residence and your residence and the naval unit or the military unit, like the 13th Indiana Infantry, that kind of thing. Then down at the bottom is some certification. This society is only open to members of the Indiana Genealogical Society. So if you're not a member, you have to join as a member before we can accept your application. A lot of people do it right away. Okay, they do it both at the same time and get that out of the way. So just be sure you remember that. And down at the bottom is just some instructions down there. Anybody remember that guy? Know that guy over there on the left there? I just cut him out. That's our good friend Ulysses S. Grant. Okay. Now, once you did the cover sheet, then you get into the application itself. Okay, you can see it's pretty much the same as a DAR application or a Mayflower, or any lineage application that you ever see. We'll basically have a form like this, and you just have to start from yourself. Like you're number one up here. Now, I want to say this. I hope I don't confuse anybody. Normally, you start with yourself, but it's not mandatory. You could start with your son or your daughter if you wanted to like a Christmas present or something like that, or a grandchild. You want to, get them interested in history and the Civil War or something. You can start further down, okay, or you can go the other way. You could get your mother in, if you want to give your mom a present or something like that. So, but normally it's you, who are filling out all this application, and you just do your generation, and then your parents, and then the grandparents, and so on. You go right down until you get, of course, to the Civil War veteran. Okay. Now over here on the right-hand side, like all good lineage groups, is where you have to put the document. You have to supply documents to prove all of that stuff. So if you've never done that before, you need to be careful because you have to have your documents listed, and the documents need to be good documents. We do have as part of the application, rules of evidence. And all lineage societies have rules of evidence. And I would encourage you, before you start filling out anything, you take a look at this, because there are some parts of it that may or not be just as easy as you think. Okay. The first part, of course, the first number one up there, you have to have service between these two dates, because that's the accepted start and finish of the United States Civil War. Okay. And then the other ones just go down and tell you various things. If in case this happens, you have this is what it has to do, and all that kind of stuff. So just read down all of that kind of stuff, and then we will, if you come down and don't have the right stuff, we were going to refer you back to these rules of evidence. Okay. And here, there's headstones, Bible records, census pages, foreign languages, diaries, anything that you might wind up with in your research or in your family, it needs to be compared. Okay. Basically, what we run into a lot is people thinking that proof is proof when it's not proof. Okay. This example here is just one of those things. This is obviously a census page, isn't it? And this is on my family. Okay. Now there's some things here. Some people will turn this in and say, okay, well, Joseph Darrah was born the 1st of July, 1796 in Wheeling, West Virginia. Okay. And then they'll turn this in as to supporting that statement. And we got a raid on their parade, don't we? Because this does not say anything about that. He says his age is 83. We don't know what year that exactly is, and they don't even know if it's accurate or not. And he says he's born in Pennsylvania, but he doesn't say where or anything like that. So make sure that the proof that you turn in says what you say it says. Okay. Let's take that same thing. Okay. Now we had a census page which wasn't really that good, and we probably would bounce it back at you, especially if you don't tell us what census it is. Now, a better thing is like an obituary over here on the left-hand side. Now you'll notice that this obituary has all kinds of good stuff telling about your ancestor. And if this is a Civil War guy and is somebody that you're going to use, you're going to say, all right, that's just exactly what I need. Well, not necessarily. Okay. For one thing, you have to tell us where this came from. I mean, what newspaper or what issue, we have to know that, because people need to, if you put your source down, other people need to be able to find it. Okay. So that's the purpose of a source. Not only do we need to prove it, but we want other people to be able to go and find that particular resource. Okay. Another thing you have to worry about obituaries, a lot of people like obituaries and they're really good. A lot of people use them. One of the things you have to keep in mind is that this was written up by a reporter for the newspaper. Okay. Now he interviewed somebody, maybe more than one somebody. Now, did those people know what they were talking about? Did they have these dates right? Are they going just from memory from like 30 years ago or something like that? Do these names of these people here, are they correct? Okay. See, you need to worry about stuff like that. Now, over here on the right-hand side is basically a good document and something that you should aim for. So here you go. This is a court probate thing. It tells who the person was that died and when they died, and it tells their children down here at the bottom and what relationship their daughter was and where they lived. See, so this is a real good thing here. It tells you the probate court, from Noble County, Ohio. So it's got all the good stuff. So you need to aim for something like that. Here's the same way another. The best thing is a scanned or a photocopied image, a scanned image instead of an abstract or something like that. But there again, you need to have the sources that will tell other people where to go to get this same thing. Now, something people don't always know about death certificates is it's both a primary document and it's a secondary document. Now, the death date is pretty reliable because, these people are right there when they filled that thing out. But the birth date and the birthplace, maybe not. Okay. And if they put down, who the parents were, maybe that's right and maybe it isn't. I don't know. I've seen a lot of them that were not at all right. So you need to be careful about stuff like that. Sometimes you might need to put 2 or 3 things there. Okay. Now we're going to be dealing with pension files, and they are great. You get them if it's a federal pension, you get them from the National Archives. They are not indexed. They are not available online. And mostly you get a few odds and ends and things like that. But there again, if you're going to do a military type thing, you need to use some military records, especially these really good federal records from the Pension Bureau. Here, let's go back to we were talking about the Indiana Legion. This is a page out of a microfilm that's in the Indiana State Archives. It's just a guy who's in the Indiana Legion. This is a good indication of service. Notice up there at the top, he's in the pocket guards. These things are great. These guys made up all kind of weird names, but documents like this are good evidence of service. They were in the reserves. Okay, and some of these are not only in the archives, but they're in museums and similar sites like that. There's lots of histories about the Civil War. You'll have no trouble, learning anything about that. You need to worry though that books, nonfiction books like the history books are secondary evidence. So you don't know how good this guy was. So it's good for clues though. These are great clue builders for you going into an application. Okay. Some more clues are like headstones. You notice this one up here at the top, Asa Hart. Okay, it's great. He's got his birth and death date. He's got his wife's name. His wife's identified. Up at the top there, he's got a Civil War regiment notation etched right on his tombstone. Okay, is this proof of that? No, you have to use that as a clue to go and find, that. So same way at the bottom. It's got her birth and death date. But did she die there? Most people don't die in cemeteries, so she probably died somewhere else. So these are all clues, though, that kind of thing. One of the things about military records, you learn a lot of stuff that is not necessarily military. Notice down in the middle of this, it says, the said Holdridge Clark was born in Columbus in the state of Ohio, and all that stuff. Gives all that family information, has nothing to do really with the military. So go and look those documents over and get all the information you can out of them. Okay. Now, if you get approved, you turn it in. We look it over and say you did a really great job, and we approve you. Then during our next annual conference, which is happening to April 1st this year, you will get a nice certificate and a medal, and you will get recognized by your peers as being somebody who knew what they were talking about. So I hope to see some of you there. We've had a lot of great people, a lot of interesting things, and you really want to be part of this group here. And what's even more important, I think, your people need to be a part of this too. So everybody knows Ulysses Grant and, all of the big top dogs, but only you and me know your people who were in the Civil War. So I hope to see a lot of you at becoming part of the Indiana Genealogical Society. So with that, I'll open it up to questions and comments. So let's get out of here. And
All right, so we have a couple questions.
okay, where am I at? There I am.
There you are.
Okay, all right.
Okay, if you said it was $20 to submit the paperwork. Do you need to pay if you need to resubmit it if there was a mistake found or not enough sources?
No. If you turn it in and we kick it back because certain documents are not good enough and you need to go back, you can go ahead and then when you turn it back in, there's no extra charge. It might, if you don't make it this year, we hold the stuff there if it takes you a long time. If you live here and you have to go to York County, Pennsylvania, or something like that, we'll hold it for you. So yeah, no extra charge.
Okay. Then the second one here, what if someone was adopted, but the soldier is their DNA match? Like they know that they don't have the adoption papers open, but they can prove through DNA, it sounds like, that they are connected.
I don't know. That's pretty shaky. Most of the lineage societies do not accept DNA results as the only proof. They need some better stuff than that. And the fact that he's not a bloodline, as far as documents are concerned, that might cause a problem. You just have to turn it in, and we'll take a look at it. And if the DNA, it depends on, a lot of it is how much is the DNA telling you. Okay,
Right.
I mean, if it's your second great grandfather and the DNA results say that there couldn't be that close, then we're gonna have to worry about that.
Right. Okay. Next question is, do you want every page from the service record from the archives? Probably not.
No. We get that question frequently, especially with pension files. Some of those pension files can be 30 and 40 pages, and they cost you like $70-80. You can get a slim down pension file for like $25. Like the 10 most relevant documents or something like that. And same way with the military files. You don't need to submit all of that. All you need to do is to be able to prove that direct ancestor served in the Union forces during the correct years. Okay.
Okay. All right. Next question. How do you write the military dates? I always wrote 11 August 2023. Example, my grandkids does it for a 4-H project. So I guess they want to know how they should write the dates.
It's better to put the day first, because if you put 6/6/72, is that
Mhm.
it's better to put the day as a number and then the month as a three-letter abbreviation. Okay, it's much clearer that way.
Right. Okay, let me just make sure we got, I think. Looks like we have answered all the questions. If anyone else has questions later, please feel free to post. This was great. This was very informational. Thank you.
There's a link on our website that goes to the Civil War, chair. And
Right.
if you have questions, just send them in, okay? And we'll email you back, reply as soon as I can.
Fantastic.
Okay.
This was really great.
Hope to see a lot of people in Fort Wayne and April the 1st. We're going to
Yeah.
have a
Because
good
you'll be there.
yeah, and all the people that have been approved, they're in a PowerPoint that I put together, and it shows their ancestor, if something interesting about them. I was telling John Maria earlier that every year I find several documents I have never ever seen before. I've been doing genealogy forever, and I've been doing military forever, but it's amazing how creative they can be in finding documents.
You never know nowadays. New things are popping up all the time.
Oh, scanning everywhere, yes. It's great.
Okay, so let's see. Just check in. All right, looks like we're good. Thank you so much again. And I want to let everyone know Ron's going to actually be back with us August 1st to talk about the territorial guards of Indiana.
Right.
So he manages a lot. So that'll be August 1st. Let's see, next month, April 4th, we are going to have IGS President Kurt Sylvester and Vice President Sue Caldwell. They're going to be talking about the future of IGS, where they see it going, and also kind of doing a recap of the conference that hopefully you all be attending either in person or virtually. So we hope to see everybody there. And thank you again for joining us tonight. And see you next month. Thank you, Ron.
Right.
Okay, I'll take us off.